All right. Welcome everyone to Dynasty the Podcast Show. I am your host, Ira Thomas Bush the Fourth, and I just want to say thank y'all and I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Today we have. I just want to say one thing I forget to do is be appreciative every day just for waking up, and that's one of the main things I stand on and I live by. Today has been pretty. Today's been pretty well. I got some stuff done that I need to get done. Hopefully, things clear up for me here. I'm trying to separate myself in a manner of put my put my family in better position. Um, making sure I'm situating myself to be financially successful and financially abundant. I don't want no more delays on the plans and vision that I have in life. I do want to find me, the right woman to help me, guide me into being a strong man in this world. So I have to better myself in a lot of areas. Be a better, continue to strive to be a father to my child and clear up some stuff that I have, with with the mother of my child. Be a better son to my mother and be a better grandson to my grandparents. And I want to make sure that I'm, representing my family correctly. It's so much stuff going on right now. I speak on it all the time, but I do want to make sure I stay grounded whatever outcomes that I have in my life, and make sure I'm representing the stuff that my brand that I want to elevate, which is Elite Association, Elite Youth Association, Elite Press. These are stuff that I visualized since I've been a teen, and that I manifested. So I'm gonna continue to work on it. Today might have been, I don't think it's a setback for me, but there's gonna be a lot of change and to stuff that I, surround myself in new environments. People are already separated themselves or whatnot, or disassociated, whatever it may be, you know. But I have to make sure I keep the right connections and be lit and lead in the correct way that be the leader that I want to be. That being said, shout out to my child, shout out to my mother, shout out to my grandmother, my grandfather. These people are still alive and well. I appreciate them. My sisters as well, my nieces and nephews. The people that I really, want to reconnect with or connect with or stay connected to. I appreciate y'all. Any kind of support. That's the type of stuff that motivates me at all times. I never, you start somewhere. So when you grow up to be in the age that I'm at, I don't feel like I'm old. I know I didn't. I know one of my main things is to not lose my youthness. My internal youthness, meaning like I don't want to be that Debbie Downer. I don't want to have that unpositive energy. I don't want to have that. Lose the integrity that I formed. In real life, not no made up stories or being mad one day and then being mad for a second and then make sure I be successful and be okay for the rest of the day. I don't let stuff linger. So I try to keep that level headedness. And now I'm not too prideful to apologize when I'm wrong or to make corrections where I need to see corrected. With that being said, today's show is called religious organization. We not saying to, religion, political science, politics, all that stuff goes hand in hand. The older you get, the more knowledge you gain from experience and from studies. And yesterday I got a chance to go to a church. I went to, I don't know many times I'm gonna go there or if I'm gonna be a part of it. I already kind of joined the church here in the DC area, but it's not too. I never shy away from being a part of a Bible study situation. And it's in a church that I already go to. Their Bible study was told me that it was only online. So I don't think it's a bad thing because I like to be in the church and get the real feel of who's doing the Bible study. So I got invited to. I was at the train. I was on the train one day, and these two young men invited me to their Bibles to their church for service. And then I was like, I like Bible study. You guys have Bible study? And then they was like, yeah, Bible studies on Wednesday. So they feed you. They the service was okay. I've been to better Bible studies. I'm not dissing the lady who ran the service. She was very nice lady. But I'm very when you've been going to these types of I call them events now. When you go to Bible study or service, or ceremonies or sermons or whatever they calling them nowadays. I've been going to these types of things since I was, like I said, I got baptized at 5. So I've been in these environments for almost 30 years, and it ain't nothing that ain't really changed. It's like a circle of make sure you figure out, some of these people don't even get out of the stage of sleepness, of being your own self and using religion as a reference. There's so many religions. You got to understand that this is a reference. And it's half of the religions use the same book to reference, and they calling it something different. So, you can't keep yourself asleep. You can't keep yourself in the circle of not growing or not elevating and not living in the now, and then don't keep yourself in that past or that illusion of the world's going to end, or the chaos that was happening during that time. So many people are powerful enough to relive those moments, and it could get real dangerous in this time with the technology, with the stuff, the resources we have, and everybody being able to access these things, and they get in the wrong hands if the person speaking is not the person that's supposed to be spoken. So I'm gonna break down, I call it a religious organization, meaning I'm just gonna break down, how the whole studies went. It was pretty good, and then the stuff that I gained from it, and we're gonna end of the day. It's gonna be real chill. I'm happy with what has happened today. I'm not trying to overdo anything. I'm not trying to overextend myself, right now. Far as there's nothing that's, I want to be in a space where I can people are feel invited to want to work with me, or or I want to work with them, or not shielding myself from a new way, just a new wave or a new way of life, or anything that that could expand my horizons or expand my abundance. So yeah, we're gonna break it down. So yeah, I went in, and I'm basically gonna talk about what we were talking about in the service, and then I'm gonna give my commentary on it. Um, the first thing we went over, the first thing that I highlighted that we went over with the Ten Commandments. Some of y'all already know what the Ten Commandments, so I'm gonna read them out, then I'm gonna just talk about it kind of in detail. Hold on, let me pull it up. Okay, the Ten Commandments. I'm gonna just read them out. It's you shall have no other gods before me. What that basically is saying, when now let's talk about this when it's God. Some people might believe other. I believe God is a spirit more than flesh, because the story has been told over and over in so many different facets. Now, when you're born, you're at your most purest, barring that you have a disformity from your parents, the way they treated their body or the way they treated their, eternal energy. And we got to be more honest about how science and religion is hand in hand almost, and it's not talked about enough on how people treat themselves, and then be mad at the world because their spouse or their seed didn't come out the way that they wanted to. It's all about the environment. It's all about the intent behind making a child. It's all about the intent about how you treat your body. So those are things that are important. So like I said, the energy, like I said, some of y'all have diluted and destroyed your internal energy because you want to fill it with narcotics. You want to curse and speak evilness and unpure, unsanctified, unpure, will over people's lives, and you're not going to get the attention and and garnish the abundance you want. Or even if you have, you're not going to gain the people that going to keep you abundant because you want to disassociate yourself because of a look or because of a skin color. That's unfortunate, and that's why you shall not have no other God before me. I know my mother and my grandfather and grandmother are very powerful people internally. This stuff is known to me. It not be known to everybody else. So, what I do is I speak life into them. I speak abundance into them. And the same thing with the children in my family. For the majority of them, they're, some of them have the warrior spirit, other of them have godlike spirits. And that's just what it is. I'm not new to life. I've been around 34 years. And then there's people out here trying to steal lights and life of eternal from my family and from that's just from the human life force. And we have these contracts and jobs and we get our degrees and we get certified in certain areas, and there's snakes and demonic forces and entities in all these places that we have to be mindful of. And I have to, me being in a coaching realm and not being a low ranking coach at all, not especially on football. I got the experience, I talk about it all the time. There's some of these slave owner type of people. I talked about the incident one time. I was it was a school down the street down in Florida. I was going to try to go and coach at, and I seen a coach slap their player like full hand, full force, like slap their player in their chest, like for like somebody slap the whip, bringing their whip and slap. I was just like I couldn't believe it because I was excited to go there. And then they tried to make me do 5 different rules to go in there and put my time in. And I was like, I'm already feeling like an uncomfortableness of how you hit that. You as a white male hitting that African descent man, young man, owns and the school board, in the school function. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even feel comfortable. I wasn't in the energy of like full defense right there because I had just getting back into like the energy of coaching and the spirit of being a leader of young men. And I was just taken back because it was so like for what? Like I don't know, like I talk about it now because I know the energy and what I have now. I'm back full of who I am, and I wouldn't allow that, I wouldn't allow that in front of me because I was just shocked at the moment because I was just getting back into it. So it was kind of them things. But we're gonna move on. Like I was telling y'all, you should put no other gods. Whatever you consider God, I consider it energy. And right now, we still at war. We're still battling evil forces. We still have to do our part to help the Most High God do be superior and reign supreme. So that's one thing. That's one message I will say. Whatever y'all might believe, we gotta still put in work. So I can't not deny that. I still got a lot to grow, and the understanding of God and the circle around of the Bible and the religions of Christianity. I'm trying to tap into the Judaism type of religion and the praising and what are they praising and the confusion of the text of the Hebrew language. We have to tap in. Like I understand certain things, but I don't have no recollect of the Hebrew language or the text that they get. They're changing into English was for basically the Bible. But it's like all the text wasn't even understood, and it was like I said, it comes from a different time, and it's chopped up and split up, and it's hidden all the time. So we gonna tap in, and I'm not never gonna fold on trying to understand what the belief of God is, and not and try my best not to question the high powered energy. Now let's move on to the second commandment. You shall not make for yourself an idol. Meaning you should not be. This is what I mean by I talk about this. This is something that I know I'm one of the most, as far as my generation and being around my mother and my grandparents, and strong individuals, men and women, my age as well. By the way, it's my age, because I went to high school, I was on the playgrounds, I had a good time in my youth age, being, some people might have been faker than others, but I know I put it's respect when it's me mentioned, like real respect, not know what you wanted to be or you felt like I tried you. This is the stuff that I like. People have to realize people will make up something about you because they didn't get the reaction they wanted, or they needed to get the outcome they wanted, or even they wasn't patient enough to see how the outcome will be. That's like this is how it's gonna be, because I'm not a quitter. I just know I'm only one human in this day and age, in this time of technology, in this time of people being not mentally stable to handle situations that I might be mentally stable to handle. So yeah, but let's read it again. You shall not make you for yourself an idol. Okay, I don't consider myself an idol, but I do consider myself a leader because I practice and I manifest certain things, and I see growth in a lot of things that I'm not even around anymore, and I'm actually excited about them being able to grow, even if they call themselves not being, how it goes when people want to make something up about you. That's in your age range, and that means they lack the leadership that you had, and they lead the people down the wrong way. And then at the end, when they remember what you said, that leadership quality that you bestowed upon them, that kicks in all the time. So that means I did my job as a guide, and and that's the difference between an idol. I don't want nobody to worship me, but I do want people to not, I do want my words that I speak to them to matter. Meaning, I want it to grow, and I want them to be able to shed light in a even more powerful way based off something I've said or done, or example that they can use. So it's a difference for me. I'm definitely not trying to idolize anyone. I feel like people always have that even playing field when they're around me. Now, if you blatantly do stuff in front of me that I don't consider even like giving my energy towards, and I know that, it's so, man, I'm so good, I don't share my eternal energy, and, I'm not laying with a spouse right now, I could look into people's eyes and tell a lot of the times what their intentions are or how they are, and they just not pure. And then even when it's fake, when it's somebody come in with a smile and a happy and a handshake, and then the next day is the complete opposite. What you think you're gonna be known as after that? You're not the same every time. I'm almost look. The thing about me, say if I meet you and I shake your hand, I laugh with you, and I see you one day, and I'm not the same. I'll literally tell you like, man, man, my day ain't as popping like it was, when I see you. So, I don't want you to think I'm being funny. This has happened to me. People, and my mom used to say I explain myself all the time, but then explain it's courtesy. You don't want to be known for being weird. You don't want to be known for being, you know, that guy that's not that's not that don't stand on their word or stand on who they are or who they portray themselves to be. And I just try to make sure myself is that. So, I like that 10 commandment number 2. We don't want to idolize, we want to, motivate, we want to gain, we want to be all put ourselves on the high levels and do our assignment that God gave us the energy, whatever big or small role you have, fulfill it and be the greatest at it. And that's my word on that. You shall not take the name of the Lord and God in vain. Now, this is something I tripped me out because that we used to be like, God dang, or excuse me, but I always talk about speaking being, cursing, saying a profane word is not the same as cursing someone. And that is one of those things where it talks about speaking, putting God, Lord, your God, putting God and saying God in vain. And we used to, when we first learned that, I remember being younger, and my grandmother, and she's still around, like this is my mom's mother, and saying God and stuff like that, we used to be like, oh, you said it. And then we used to practice correcting each other. Like we used to make it like a thing where you couldn't say it, but we know the older you get, the more you take it serious. It's very rare that I, put God and then I get lazy and I could be saying it all the time in one day. You know what I'm saying? It's like that people that monitoring spirit or monitoring weirdo, the demonic forces, they try to speak their tongue in you or to make you or defame you for being a demonic spirit. And it's all and it's older I get, the more I understand. I know where it's coming. I know where it's coming from. I know these people are weak and they're peasant. They have peasant spirits. You know, they come from a peasant background. You know, they're not used to having strength. You know, they're used to being the bottom total pole of it. And then, you know, when they get money or they get the drug or narcotic they get, they feel entitled or they feel powerful. So, you know, they want to monitor somebody that's naturally going to have that spirit. And that's how it goes. You know, I talk about it all the time. So, you know, I try my best to be, that's definitely something you don't want to do is just be, you know, be hold and not, you know, I be going to the like a church center. It's not really a church. It used to be a church. Just put it like that. I think it's a school now. So they don't want that. You know, I'll say like a profane word, just speaking, just my natural self. I ain't cursing nobody. You know, I'm just speaking. And you know, these people are how other people going. You know, doing demonic type of things that's improper. And I'm like, y'all call yourself holy tonight, and y'all mad because I said shit or dang or effort, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm like, I ain't said it to nobody. I'm talking about a basketball game or you know a scrub basketball play that don't happen. Y'all getting all out y'all. This is why I know they're in a lower vibration than whatever I'm talking about. Their vibrations they need to go buy clothes to feel better or something. You know what I'm talking about? Like they at that level of low vibration. They think the gear they got on it's suppressing the lowness of how they feel or who they are sitting around. You know at the time. You know like this is the stuff that I'm trying to wake people up to. Like how I be laughing about me flipping that switch already. Like I've been that fly guy with the clothes and the gear. I don't felt that. I done been raised around that, and they still kind of already. They ain't at the vibration not low. We just used to that. You know what I'm talking about? And like they know who I'm speaking on when I say this. This is not new to us. This is what we was born into. This is how our grandparents ain't playing. They could sew a Nike shoe. You know what I'm talking about? We could make the Nike brand be, you know, like but yeah, it's cool. I ain't tripping. But we're gonna move on. Number 4. I'm gonna read these off. I'm not gonna go in full detail. I just wanted to kind of break stuff down. We got a long we're not gonna be here all day. But I do want to review the rest of the day, how it went, and speak on it. So number 4, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Honor your father and your mother. I'm big on that. Like I talk about it all the time. You shall not murder. This is something that I agree with as well. You know, it's like it's just one of those things. You know, I remember my dad speaking on these things. You know, he was put in situations, and he I know what side he picked. And the same with my grandfather. You know, this is recent a conversation I had with him, and same with my like I call him my big brother. I know look. He might have didn't understand how I was. Well, everybody probably they probably knew, but everybody didn't probably know. Like we had these conversations when I was younger. You know about making decisions and thinking stuff. Because I'm telling you, people try to set like you know I ain't calling myself you know I'm official with it. So Elite Youth Association is official. You know elite all that stuff is official. So yeah I ain't tripping about it. You know I can't let it's still the same kind of like you can't let stuff get to you for real. And you know, and we had these discussions, and that's one of those things. You know, I was a young child when somebody came down the street with a knife. Me and my brother, we probably could have took him on, but he would have had to do most of the work. You know what I'm saying? Like because he was big enough to fight the guy, but he had a knife. You know, my grandparents. This is right before I left, and I ain't no hater. Like this is so old. This is 22 years ago. So you know, I ain't you can't say I'm writing a report on that. This is something a story I could tell. And you know, if we really wanted to do him in that guy, if we really had to, let's put it like this: if we like the people we would normally hanging around because everything was shifted. We had everybody was finna start getting girlfriends and getting on some vaginas, and it was just a shift. I was about to move. I had to move off the energy. Like the clan really is in the area in that county that we from. So I'm looking at it like, well, I ain't really scared of him. Like, and I look back, he had to go to, tell his people for real. Like, what we finna do? Yo, duck off real quick, cause we do the whole area. But we could have did him, man. We could have make him come back around the next day and with 30 people on his head. That's how big it was already, girls and all. So it was just funny how it was. But yeah, that was a funny day. I didn't even look at it like I was like, man, I can't believe they had that. I had went and got a knife myself. Look, I was like, oh, I don't care. Like, but because it was like I don't even remember. The thing is, I don't remember why these people are jealous of us like that. But it's just because of how we was moving. I guess as young people, we had fun all day. We was laughing and roasting, and we was doing our thing. So that was just the beginning stages of it. And I'm pretty sure everybody doing their thing still. Everybody done grew up, got children. That's the most important thing, being fathers and mothers. And we can't let nothing come between that. That pettiness of claiming some negative stuff that we did as young children, people gotta let that stuff go. And then I don't even call it's just called growing up. They can't be sitting up here stealing joy and shine from stuff that we live. That's just weird. That's weird. Like I said, got people like come in, do their thing, but let's continue. Um, you shall not commit adultery. Now, this is something that's in the Bible that I feel like this is a time where people was going out. This is when homosexuality started happening. People was, it's in the history books. People was messing around with animals, trying to do science projects and all kind of gimmicks they was doing in this time. So you got to remember, this stuff is put in shows. This stuff is put in history. Y'all go to college. Y'all watch the History Channel that I watched in the United States of America. They don't talk about it no more. They know that they got like certain weeks and months that they mention these stuff, or you got to get to a certain level of college. But this is like what I talk about referencing. Now, if you go to the motherland and it's more women and it's less men, or you be in America for say, there's way less men available than it is women. Our women ain't clean and pure, but that's what the confusion is. If you got the power below your waist to manage more than one woman, I don't see nothing wrong with that. Now, you have to be communicating with these women that you have more than one woman, and they got to be okay with it. You know what I'm saying? You got to be taking the risk that the way that these women are conniving about having a child from you or being jealous in any given time. You can't be a dirty man. You can't be a dirty female. You mess with a dirty female, then you have one of the purest females. That's the stupidest thing you can do, and that's what the confusion be starting. Because you'll bring something to your other relationship that don't need to be brought. And I'm on the side of keeping my one. And like I said, I'm at the age where I be like, hey, if you want it to happen, like, and I'm trying to let my child get raised the correct way anyway. So I ain't even stressing a relationship as bad as I want one, or be in that environment of hanging out with my lady friend or spouse, and hanging out and doing great things and taking over stuff, which is what you're supposed to bring that powerful woman into your life for. I'm on the side that commandment was made because there was a lot of heinous improper activity going on at the time. I know this for a fact because my mother married someone from Africa. He had more than one wife. This is known, and he like, I had to have my kids because I was one of the strongest men, and that's why I'm here. You know what I'm saying? Like this is like I respect having some of the most realest people in my life. Like, these people didn't lie to me. Like, I don't know what to tell everybody. This is real life. My mom could handle that because the way the American men set up, they're some of the most. My dad wasn't a perfect person, but my dad was honest to my mother, especially the older we got. And the people that he was one of the most honest men in America. Like, to me, like, now, even studying this, like I said, the people around me, they was pretty honest too. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't tripping about a lot of stuff. That's why I am who I am now. And like I said, and definitely the person my mom married was a very honest man. Shout out to him for real. And his tribe and his whole, I ain't disrespecting him ever. And that's for real. And I'm American, so shout out to Africa. Especially Ghana where he's from. And, how he spanned out. He probably in a different part, or his children might be. You never know. So I ain't got no problem issues with that. I learned a lot. I learned how to make sure you got to provide, which is still difficult in America because they want a black man to be the poorest and the lowest, and don't want them in position all the time. Or it's just how I go. And my grandfather as well. I love that man. He showed me a lot. Like I said, I had real mentors, real people around me that's older than me. I speak on it all the time. So let's continue the last three. You shall not steal. Everybody know that. That's one of the worst karmas you can have. You should not bear false witness against your neighbor, and you should not covet your neighbor's house and position and possessions. Definitely don't look into all that. These are stuff that's still standing on it. Those are some of the top things. Now today, I don't even. I'm speaking some real stuff today, so we might be a little long winded. I'm gonna make sure I ain't going too crazy with it. Well, anyways, we're at 30 minutes, so I'm gonna talk about one thing she mentioned, and I like the way it kind of the Maslow hierarchy. This is basically like like one of those charts where it goes right into what we were talking about with the Ten Commandments. This is the Bible study we was going. This is what was mentioned in the Bible study. It's like a chart. It's like a pyramid. And they started with the first thing was mentioned. This was a lady. She mentioned it. This when it's psychological breathing, psychological breathing, food, water, sex, sleep, homeostasis, execration. It's like the basics of what you need to be a basic human. You need food, water, and shelter. Have a spouse. Make your children. Sleep well, and all this stuff is what when she mentioned it, I had to remember what that word meant. The Maslow, what that was, because I remember hearing it when I was younger, or just throughout just being in church, but you don't really go over it all the time. So got to be the have the basics. The next part of the next step will be safety, security of body, employment, resources, morality, the family, health, and property. So you want to gain wealth, health, be on your family, protect your vessel, your eternal spirit that goes hand in hand. I guess the thing that I had asked about when they mentioned was employment. I said the way the system in America is designed, they want people to work for free, or they want people to be unemployed, or that's what the feeling is that at this time. That means we have the wrong type of people in we have the wrong people in command because they're not making sure people are fed and well. And I told them, I said, y'all mentioned employment, and the lady mentioned like basically she was like, you know, it's that having a job is okay. And I was like, well, you don't. Everybody has an assignment, so you don't want to be unhappy in your assignment. And they've created a money, something called money, and on that money it says debt note. So it's like the more you accumulate, the more you might be having to pay, and you got to have a purpose of why you accumulating that dollar. So you can like it go then it goes with morality, the family, the health, and the property, and then like they put all these taxes on reason why you can't be in this land. These people be from different countries. They found different ways to claim land that's not theirs, and that's why they made all these rules and regulations on. Then they make the bank, and we go on and on. It's called evolution, though. That's what I told. It's called evolution. So I'm not mad at how it is. I'm just knowing that's what it is. And then going up in the pyramid, it's called love and belonging, friendship, family, and sexual intimacy. Again, after you solidify, gaining a house and gaining food and having these stuff in abundance or to your disposal, then you want to, procreate, make a child, create bigger friendships and better friendships, establishing your family, your personal family. And then esteem, self-esteem, confidence, achievement, respect of others, respect by others. And I was just talking about that earlier. These go hand in hand with the Ten Commandments of, and this is also something that's not just Christian. Judaism and Hinduism is something that really looks into this as one of their biggest references. This pyramid. And like a self-esteem, you gotta have self-awareness of who you are, confidence, achievements. Don't be afraid to celebrate yourself. You don't celebrate during the achievement, during the process, but when you finish that same day, be happy. However long it takes you, don't spend too long on it, still in the fight of continuing to win, but and don't lose focus of the basics. Respect of others. You got to respect your opponent, respect your surroundings, respect what's going on, and then you want to be have respect by others. Make sure when you giving out the respect that you're getting it back. If you're not in the right place. And I had to leave a lot of places when the disrespect happened. Not they'll claim that you didn't honor your contract, but when it comes down to you having to provide for your family, and these people wanting to steal before they give you something, or have state some kind of claim over your life and bondage that you already have, and then them not understanding that you already understood the bigger picture, and you're a veteran in certain areas of being a leader in your family. That's what the stuff happened. Stuff hit the fan, and I have to speak on this stuff all the time because I might have didn't go to Boy Scouts, but the stuff that I learned on the playground might have been better, more about the same. But yeah, and then that last thing is self actualization, morality, creativity, spontaneity, problem solving, lack of prejudice, acceptance of for facts. I talk about it. This is why I do my podcast. These basic things right here. This is the stuff that I talk about. I don't not read. I probably read this pyramid maybe once or twice. I want to say once, but I might have seen it twice. And this is like basically the level that I'm at when I do my podcast. And I talk about, and I just read it. I didn't read it. I just read it to you how I read it to you, and it's coming back to me when I seen it before. It was not a lot of time. So, just having that moral concept already of me being in my higher self or higher being, I can't lack for nothing. I have to stay on point, and I'm glad I was able to share that with you. And because I couldn't remember where I read it, and I was like, "What did it call again?" I wrote it down, and then so we're gonna move on. That's basically it for that. Um, and this is the last thing we're gonna go into. Well, one of the last things. Yeah, we went. It was a verse. Um, 1 Timothy chapter 5 verse 8. It states, "But if anyone does not provide for his relatives, and especially for members of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever." So basically, this goes right into what I was saying. It's a time. It's a time and place for certain things, and when they was writing this Bible, it was a different time than it is now. But it resonates now because everybody has an assignment. I talk about the men in my family on my father's side, and even on my mother's side. They all got the same speech or same message from me about everybody has to play a role in the environment and the way the system is designed, and what their system want us to be in this like like that uncertainty. They want the black man to be uncertain about who they are. And I talk to them everybody about, y'all think that the only reason why I haven't got nearly you know, I had to go a long way around to not get into any real trouble. And I still right now get harassed. I still get harassed financially. I'm getting harassed for being, me being out, what we'll call me actually being boisterous and out the door and putting myself in position to actually be in these political um, wards and conversations and me directing change right now. This is stuff that this is what I was already gonna be doing. They didn't understand what it was exactly, but I knew. But I had to be patient. I had to develop. I had to be mature. So that's basically I had to take my full claim to who I am as a person, who I was going to be, what is my job and assignment for my family. And unfortunately, my job I have not gotten paid because people didn't stand on the contract that they signed with me. And I'm not unintelligent when it comes to just walking away from situations. These people can't even come in the vicinity of me because of their lies and conniving ways. You get what I'm trying to say? I can go anywhere. I will shake their hand still because I'm not intimidated by they lie. You know what I'm trying to say? It's not that I'm the one that lied. They the one that lied. I actually helped still, I was that much of a light and I was that much of a force when I'm around. These people are some of these people are some of the most successful people that I've been a part or been around. So it's not nothing to me, and I'm standing on it. Mine is only in the sixth grade, and she's still an AB honor roll, AB principal, A straight A principal list. Same with my nieces and nephews. As a father, as a figure of sports and coaching, I'm still at the top of my game. I'm proud to say that. So that being said, hopefully my financial and the people that are jealous and envious of me as a person will dissipate, and they can find a new way, or a new or a new guide to I don't know, they could find somewhere, and hide and ramble and rattle. I don't know what to say. And then we could go, I could move on with my life because I know how to balance of what they say and what I do is not even close. So, that's gonna be it for today. This is Dynasty the Podcast Show. I am your host, Ira Thomas Bush the Fourth. Thank y'all for listening, tuning in. I wanted to do a show yesterday. I did not get to do. I was mad about that, but it's on at Twitter X. It's in YouTube. I haven't been sharing on Threads. I'm a little behind on Threads. Y'all know how I've been. I ain't go to the center of the hearings, but some things is personal. This is the stuff that I need to put some energy into. I think I'm seeing the clearness of what I need to continue to be on, and I ain't worried too swift. But thank y'all. Hopefully the forces of hating and stopping my pockets from flowing of abundance of money stops with them sooner than later, and my family keep them abundant, keep them aware, keep them strong, and keep them on top of their game. Anything associated with elite association, the same thing, and that's it. Same with my child and my grandparents and my mother and my sisters. Appreciate y'all. I see y'all. Hopefully we can get a show in tomorrow, and we're gonna try to be on point. And I see y'all. Y'all have a blessed. Y'all have a great day.